Hey everybody, this is Eric Cook and I'm with WSI Digital Marketing, and I see a lot of familiar faces in the attendee list and some new ones. But for those of you that are joining us live, thank you so much for carving some time out of your day to join me. For those of you that may not know who I am a recovering banker. I'm doing air quotes with my fingers here. A recovering banker of 15 years and now do digital marketing. I've been doing this for about the last 7 years, and in my quest to be a great resource and helpful partner for all of my banking customers, I'm always on the lookout for cool new services that banks can implement to engage customers and generate business and enhance retention. And I had the pleasure of meeting Kathleen Craig a couple of weeks ago up in Traverse City at a banking conference with the Michigan Bankers Association, and got to see her cool new little Banker Junior mobile app, financial literacy, fun education, et cetera, et cetera. I'll let her do a little bit better job of explaining it. But when I saw that, I know a lot of my clients have talked to me about things like learning centers and other ways that they can get their younger customers. Plus, I think financial literacy is a very important component of banking these days. Unfortunately, parents may not necessarily be the best teachers of financial responsibility to their children. So anytime we can bring a tool to the table that will help the kids better understand things like budgeting and other important banking concepts, I think it's a good thing. So I'm really excited that Kathleen is going to join us and kind of walk through Banker Junior. We got some screenshots. We're certainly interested in questions. So before I officially turn the microphone over to her, I just want to make sure a couple of housekeeping items. We are recording this session, so if you'd like to listen to this on playback, I will be providing a link within the next day or so once the recording is available, and you can share it with others in your office if they'd like to catch it again. And we also encourage and hope that you will have some questions during today's session. And in your control panel, which is probably located to the right-hand portion of your screen, there's an area in there for questions. You can just go ahead and type your question in there. I'll do my best to monitor those and ask them during certain parts of the presentation, or if we don't get to it, we'll certainly allow time at the end so we can go ahead and ask your question at that point. So with that, Kathleen, I will officially welcome you to the webinar. Thanks again for taking some time to share with everybody the Banker Junior app from HT Mobile Apps. And I guess the line is all yours, and we see your screen. So let's go ahead. We can walk through some slides and let's educate some folks on Banker Junior.
Awesome. Eric, thank you so much, and thank you all for joining us this afternoon. So just quickly, I think Eric did an amazing introduction, but a little bit about me. I'm also a former banker. I actually just left officially my bank role as the Vice President of Consumer E-Services at a community bank here in Michigan, just left in October. So I am definitely, I will say our and we a lot when referring to community banks, because I still definitely feel a part of the fold. And, I know that if you're joining us today, you really probably get a lot of the financial literacy stuff that I'm going to say and the importance of it. But I wanted to start with just a few excerpts from the presentation I actually did at the Michigan Bankers Association conference. Because even though you may get it, maybe you need some help or some stats or support for a business case to get others in your organization on board. So I thought that that would be a great place for us to begin. So starting out, a few stats. According to the National Financial Educators Council, the NFEC, the average U.S. household spends 30% of their income on debt repayment. Only 59% of Americans have at least $500 in savings. 25% of Americans have $0 in savings. And 4 out of 10 adults would give themselves a grade of C, D, or F when it comes to their personal financial knowledge. So this may not surprise many of you. I don't know if it really surprised me, but it definitely shocked me. And as community bankers, it's really important for us to understand and know, because if folks aren't able to save and invest, that really affects our bottom line. Folks not having the means to use our services definitely affects our income and our ability to make money. So the good news The good news is that nearly 4 in 5 adults agree that they would benefit from advice and answers to everyday financial questions from a professional. So the good news is they know that they need help. And 80% of people look more favorably on a bank who offers financial education in one form or the other. For me, as a former community banker and still a part of the community banking space, education is our value proposition, which I'm sure a lot of you know and understand. It is what made me so proud for the last 6 years to work for a community bank. The way that our bankers were out in the community and educating our clients and prospects and folks on financial education. But, of course, it's not easy. Education takes all forms. I think if you Google financial education, there's something like 6 billion responses. So where do we begin? There's limited resources. I don't know about you, but I don't have endless time or budget. So for me, step one, and again, I have a larger presentation I'm happy to share with any of you on the phone that walks through this in a little more detail. But for me, step one is segmenting. So do you want to start with kids, teens, adults, seniors? What makes the most sense for your bank brand and where you'll see the most value and what makes sense for what you're doing and your strategic plan? If you're here on the line, I'm hoping it's because it's for you, it's kids. Definitely for me as a mom of an 11 and 5-year-old, kids are where I always go and where I like to start when they're young and impressionable and open to education. So why kids? Why did I start with kids and why Banker Juniors? People remember their first financial institution. If you talk to people, I love the stories that we get here at Banker Junior about people's first bank and their first passbook. Some folks still have it in a drawer somewhere. People really remember their first financial institution fondly. We've heard stories of banks giving, folks their first bike loan when they were a little nugget. And then parents need help. As Eric mentioned, parents need help. 1/3 of parents are more comfortable talking about drugs and bullying than money. Just culturally, we've been taught that money is private. You don't talk about how much money you have or you don't have. Well, that transfers to parents not being comfortable talking to their kids. So they're looking for resources and help, and it's an area as community bankers that we can be of assistance to them. Schools need help. They don't have enough budget, they don't have enough time either, and they're constantly looking for partners and ways that they can bring financial education curriculum into the classroom. And then habits start young. I read this quote the other day and I really, really loved it. We do not wait until kids are 15 to teach them to brush their teeth, right? We teach them when they're very little that brushing your teeth is important, and it's the same thing with money. The longer that we wait to teach them about money, the more their habits are already formed and it's not a part of their routine and of their knowledge base. So what do kids need to know? Well, they need to know that you need to earn money. You earn money by working. They need to understand needs versus wants. Goal setting is an important thing to introduce, that you can't just have it right now. You may need to set a goal and save over time. Currency is what is encouraged to teach kids, and then the value of saving. So as we thought about this at Banker Junior, there's many ways to do this. There's websites, there's workbooks, there's different resources that you can use. But for us, being an app business, of course, it's mobile. It's what has their and our attention. If you look around at any meeting or any restaurant or anywhere people have 2 minutes, what are we all doing? We're all on our devices. So when we thought about getting kids' attention and sharing money concepts with them, we thought mobile was the right place and the way that we would be most likely to get their attention. So that's where we came up with Banker Junior. So it's a mobile app branded by you but made for them. So you can have your logo, your primary color, but we really tried to make it fun for kids. When we set out to make this app, we did not hire bank software developers. We hired game developers to really make sure that we were coming at it from a kid's point of view. We've actually had feedback from adults that they can't use parts of it because it's not intuitive enough for them, but the kids are seeming to do just fine. So we're trying to balance the adults and non-mobile natives with the younger generation. But as I go through the rest of the presentation, anywhere you're seeing this bright magenta color that the pig is where you can brand your color. And anywhere you see our logo, the HT Mobile Apps logo, is where your logo can go within the app. And then right here on the very home screen is our push messaging that we'll talk to you about a little bit. So what is Banker Junior? What does it do? Well, at its core, it's an interactive register. So kids can track their accounts at your financial institution. They can set savings goals. So, for example, up here on the sample, we have a dirt bike. My daughter is a soccer player, so hers says soccer ball. My son is into Spider-Man, so his says Spider-Man toy. We've even had adults use this feature for various goals that they're trying to save for. They put in the goal, how much they want to save, the date with which they want to save it, and Banker Junior will tell them how much per week they need to save to get there. Because it's a simple register, parents can also use it to track allowance virtually, so no more losing cash. Allowance apps are becoming really popular in the industry. There's actually an app on the West Coast that launched that has over 600,000 users. So imagine if your bank brand could allow parents to track allowance virtually and the parents were using your brand instead of a different app. Again, it gets you in front of them. And then there's a managed database. So we know that families are multiple device families. So mom may have a phone, dad may have a phone, the child may have a phone, and then there might be a family iPad or tablet. So we've done a managed database so that you can see the same balances on all accounts. A question we get asked a lot is, does this talk directly to their bank account? No, it does not. So again, it takes the place and makes it interactive, that paper register experience, but we are not channeling right into the core for a couple of reasons. First, we wanted to make sure that the Banker Junior price tag was affordable because we know those youth accounts aren't necessarily the highest dollar and profitable accounts. So we wanted to make sure that the cost was very in line with all size institution budgets. The other reason for that is because kids under 18 cannot touch their money and are not allowed to manage their own money. So we wanted Banker Junior to be a very safe place. One of our banks recently launched externally in their newsletter, and the term they used was kid-tested, banker-approved. And we really, really loved that. And parents are looking for safe educational apps for their kids. So how great would it be if your bank brand can offer an app to those parents? So again, on this screen, anywhere you're seeing that magenta color or our logo is where you can brand. This is our lovable character, Pegham. He's throughout the app, jumping, blinking, moving around, and he's the star in most of our games. You can see also we've made the buttons nice and big and, again, very visual and colorful for the kids. So what else is in Banker Junior? You know, we had these amazing game developers, and we did the register, and we were excited about that. But this is where we also are really excited to teach simple money concepts. We're using gamification to teach various age levels the simple money concepts that are relevant for them. So we start in kind of the ages 2+ with our Candy Factory. Then we have games for ages 5+, and now we're getting into the bit older games. All of the games are perfectly safe. There's no money changing hands. You know, some of the apps out there, Candy Crush or different surfing games and run games, kids can actually spend real dollars in the app. And they're actually, you know, developers are getting into a little bit of trouble. What we love about Banker Junior is, again, it's a safe app. Parents can turn their kid loose, and they're already in front of the screen, so why not turn them loose on something that's going to educate them and, again, have your bank brand attached to it. The other great thing about our model and us having this app with the game developers is we continue to grow and add the games. So we are committed to at least quarterly updates. We really tend to update it about every other month with new games, because we also know as app developers that as quickly as Angry Birds became popular and it was all the rage, it also went away just that quickly. And so we are committed to continuing to update the games, add to the games, change the games to keep kids' attention and keep bringing them back in. So here's an example of one of our games. This is our Candy Factory game. We have a few quotes in the middle from kids that have learned their coins from Candy Factory. So you can see Pegham needs a quarter. So they're learning quarter, nickel, dime, penny, the front and the back of coins, and then the different denominations of the coins by feeding them to the machine and getting their candy. Throughout each level, there's 3 different levels, and then every 3 rounds of the game you see on the left, there's a mini game. So on the right, you see a screen with one of the mini games, which is a drop game. It's one of our most popular games where coins are falling from the sky and you have to grab all the pennies or all of the quarters, and occasionally a candy will fall as just an extra bonus. So another quote from a kid, "I love finding the quarters and feeding my pig candy bars." That was from a little girl named Olivia that also learned her coins through Banker Jr. and through Candy Factory. A game that we've just recently launched for a little bit of the older set is our Pegham Village. So again, another example of the difference in money concepts for the different age groups. So Pegham's Village is kind of similar to more of like a Sims or that kind of thing where you're building a village with your Pegham's points. So in Candy Factory and all of the other games, you're earning what we call Pegham's points. And then you can invest those in outfits for your Peghams in the closet, or you can invest them here in your village. And you're buying different buildings and transportation, all of which that have different income and expenses, and you're trying to manage a profitable village. So you can see there we have a mayor's house, a bank, an ice cream parlor, and we've chosen the bus as our transportation. And if your village is profitable, every day when you go into your village, you get that many Pegham's points. So we've seen a lot of adults be very excited about their village as well and building it up as well, which is a lot of fun for us. Pegham's Village also teaches money management in that we teach them how to write a check. They have to use a check in order to buy their various village items and different components in their village. And then they also have a summary sheet. So again, they can see their balance statement and see if they're managing, their income and having a profitable village. So again, it's introducing money concepts and financial literacy, but through fun and interaction and in a way that they can understand and that is easy. And we're really, really excited about that. On the register side of the house, we've made it so that the history of the register looks like mobile banking. Again, anywhere that we can introduce concepts that they will see in the future as adults, but in a fun way and in a way that they want to play with and that they want to do. In addition to the games and the register, we continue to roll out other features we're excited about. One thing we rolled out in the first quarter of this year is Quick Sense push messaging. We're really excited to offer this. It's something not even a lot of the mobile banking apps have yet been able to figure out. But this is where you as the bank can develop a message about the size of a tweet, 140 characters, and you can push it out through the app once per quarter, and you can link to a URL. So for example, if you have a community event that you're doing that you want to invite everyone to, you can put that into Banker Jr. We have several financial institutions that we're talking to that pay for grades. So they plan to use the optional push messaging around the time of grades. Hey, don't forget to bring your report card to the bank and we will pay you for your grades. And then the Learn More link can link right to your website, so you're driving traffic back to your main website and your portal. Because Banker Jr. doesn't talk directly to accounts, it's really fun because you can give it to all folks all over your communities and the markets you serve. So very likely you can have folks on your version of Banker Jr. that don't necessarily bank with you. So then you can use the Quick Sense push messaging to drive traffic back to the bank and teach them more about the products and services you offer and drive traffic that way. Eric, are there any questions so far or things?
We did have one question just out of curiosity. What does HT stand for? And
Oh,
I think
I
I know
love
the
that.
answer to this, but
I love that.
I will ask it. Yes.
Yeah, I love that. So that stands for Haley and Tyler. So those are my two kids. Haley is 11 and Tyler is 5. So, and they're our sisters with all of the kid focus groups that we've done. They're the leaders of that, and they like to get their friends involved. So we named the company after them.
Very cool. Very cool. I would refer to them as your inspiration.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Not a real question, but I'll offer up an observation. This is kind of me putting on my digital marketing hat, but I also did a couple of sessions for the MBA, and one of my sessions really talked about the importance of being perceived as a financial partner, not just always selling products and services. And the term education came up quite frequently about being able to provide relevant content on your website. And I think a lot of bankers are giving consideration to things like blogs and resource centers and other things that they can do to help educate customers. And that certainly has some SEO benefit, because as a bank or any business, you'd like to be recognized on the first page of Google when somebody goes online and they search for you. But this is a completely different kind of content that doesn't necessarily reside, obviously, on the website, although you can certainly talk about it and the advantages of financial literacy and child education and those sorts of things. But it plays into the trend of what the digital space is really focused on, is providing helpful content, being an educator, sharing information, and really positioning yourself as more of a partner as opposed to someone that's just trying to sell a mortgage or open up a checking account. So I see a real nice correlation there, which is very cool.
Absolutely.
Looks like there was a question that came in, actually, wondering if the app has the ability to help with currency conversions for when or if a child ever happens to be traveling.
It does
or
not.
Maybe.
That is a great idea and something I'll definitely jot down, and actually brings up a great point that we recently, with the upgrade with QuickSense, we've actually added the ability for end users from all of our banks to send feedback directly to our support team. So I love that idea of a currency converter and teaching them about that. Love that. Very
cool. Good, good. At this point, I'll leave the name hidden just because she put "just kidding," although it is a she. But what if you don't like pigs?
That's really funny.
Oh, thanks for the chuckle.
I
think you know
great.
the person that asked that question, and I'll share it with you afterwards, but I'll keep
All
her
right.
name
Well,
hidden
that's
to
great. Well, we
her,
love little Peghams, and we find most kids think it's funny, but I love that. But we do get the question that leads to another great question. What if we already have a mascot or logo? And how we're handling that with some of the banks we have launching this quarter is we can actually put your bank mascot on maybe a screen or two introducing Peghams. We can't replace Peghams throughout all of the games and everything, but we can do that introduction so you don't lose the equity and maybe a character you already have.
Very cool.
So here's some examples of different ways folks are using Banker Junior. So NB&T is a bank in Illinois that launched in the fall, as well as First State Bank here in Michigan. So here's some of their materials, and as well as other quotes. Dad helped me count the money in my jar so we could add it to my pig account. Speaking of kids, I won enough coins to buy a top hat for my pig so he can be fancy. So kids are having a lot of fun. You can see there that the child is on an iPad. I forgot to mention that Banker Junior is compatible with iOS and Android systems and the associated tablets. And there's no additional charge for the different operating systems or the tablets. It's just one fee, and it's all in. Again, being a former banker that signed the contracts for internet banking and mobile and bill pay, we wanted to keep things really simple at Banker Junior and easy.
Cool. Well, that kind of opens the door, and we do have a question. Well, now that you mentioned it, maybe talk a little bit about pricing, because I know you made the comment earlier about not tying into the core, which significantly reduces expenses. So maybe talk about the cost, the term, how long is the commitment period to something like this, and then maybe chat a little bit about the options for customizing. Granted, we can't take the pig away, but some of the other customization options that may help kind of define maybe a higher budget allocation if necessary.
All right, great. So the white label version of Banker Junior starts at under $1,000 setup and starts at as low as $125 a month, and that includes all users, the managed database, all upgrades, and again, that push messaging feature that I just showed you. So we're really excited about that pricing. It is based on asset size, so it could be a little bit higher than that based on the size of your bank. We then also have our custom version, the NB&T. I'll go back one. The NB&T one you see here with the blue and the custom icon, that is called our custom app. That starts at a little bit higher price tag because it comes with more customization, as well as we then put the app into the App Store as your bank. So from a searchability standpoint, it's a very nice feature, and we can do a little bit more with it. That version starts at a $2,500 setup and then starts at $250 a month. So still a very low price tag comparatively to other digital channels and other marketing channels, but just a little bit higher price tag for that additional customization.
Cool. Good. That kind of leads to another question, is the process for a customer to be able to get their hands on this app. I mean, is it something where they go into the App Store? Now, granted, if it's customized, it's XYZ Bank. But how do they go about getting it? And I know one of the other things that you and I talked about in Traverse City was the registration process. It's a little bit more involved for a reason to get the app actually turned on. So maybe talk a little bit about that process.
Yeah, there is a one-time activation process for your end users. That is to keep us compliant with the Child Protection Agency. And also, the great thing about the activation process, again, it's a one-time process. The family goes in and creates a username and password with an activation code that you as the bank provide. They can do that one time, and then they can unlock the app on as many devices as they'd like for their family. So again, the reasons for that are, one, to be compliant so that we know for sure that an adult is registering and accepting the terms and conditions and all of that. The other reason for that is we do give, included in the price, we offer monthly reporting, and we actually ask for folks' zip codes. So we can tell you by region, by zip code, how many folks are using the app, who's using the app, how often, and which different games they're using, which is great from a CRA standpoint, that if you take Banker Junior into some schools or a lower income area, we can show that folks are using it for your CRA reporting. I'm actually taking our version of Banker Junior into a housing area with the United Way of Washtenaw, who recently rebuilt an area and are working to educate families on financial education. They're going to use Banker Junior as a tool in this neighborhood, which is really exciting and, of course, something really fun for us to see.
Cool. Good. That was another question, is does this qualify for CRA credit? And I know you're not a regulatory official and aren't an official CRA expert, but you know, it sounds like there's definitely good evidence to be able to identify where this is getting used, and it certainly can't hurt.
Exactly, exactly. And again, by that zip code, what is nice is you can tell where it's being used and all of that. So we're hopeful that it can be for your area and for your regulator, but of course you'll want to talk to your team and to be sure. Perfect.
Good. We do have another question. They're starting to flow in now, so you've done a good job spurring some thoughts from the audience. Someone asks whether or not the slide deck or maybe other material would be available to share. They want to take it to their bank president, and while this is being recorded, it might be easier to have some handout materials than expect somebody to sit through this. As wonderful as your voice and presentation is.
Absolutely. Happy to share the deck. Eric, do we have the ability to send it out to all attendees, or should folks email me to get it? What makes sense?
What we'll do is we'll create a link for everybody to download, and those of you that are registered, we'll go ahead and we'll send a follow-up email when the actual presentation is available to watch online, and then I'll work with Kathleen and we'll just get a download link so you can go ahead and pull the slides directly down and have them for your office.
Perfect. Great. Yeah,
So,
happy to
yep,
share.
That'll be great. Cool.
Great.
Another question came in. Do you by chance have a demo app that somebody can download to test drive? Anything that they could play with?
Absolutely. We just like to talk to banks one-on-one about that, but that's definitely something that we do as we're getting into conversations with the banks and going down the process. It's one of our favorite things is to have bankers go and play with it with their kids and the kids in their life to see how they engage with it. So absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. You mentioned kids and banker kids, and this was another thing that I took away from our chit-chat up in Traverse City, but you had talked about a lot of banks when they get ready to launch this, and I know we do this with web development where we'll do a soft launch and we'll get the employees or maybe the board to play with it and just kind of kick the tires. You had talked about a bank releasing this to their kids of the employees first. And got just some tremendous validation that, yeah, this is really what we needed to be doing. Maybe you can kind of share some of those stories with everybody as well.
Oh, yeah, I would love to. So we have a bank in Missouri, First State Community Bank, who they actually started with the white label in the fall, and right before they launched said, no, we want to go custom. We want the full shebang. They're a $1.7 billion bank in Missouri. They recently launched about a month ago internally, did an internal contest to get some of those quotes that I showed you. They had 50 coworkers and download the app and start using it, and over 300 uses of the app in just over 2 weeks. So from an internal adoption standpoint and usage, it was really exciting. And I can imagine a follow-up question is, so how often are people using it? What we're seeing is that on average, folks use Banker Junior 6 times per month. So the average usage of a Banker Junior user is 6 times per month. So we're excited about that. Most of our banks in their first month of launch have more uses of Banker Junior than my $900 million bank had uses of person-to-person payments. So from a brand touch point, we're excited about that.
Yeah, very cool. Talk a little bit about the implementation time frame. Let's say a banker is interested and they want to get started. How long does something like this take, and what sort of an extension goes along with that if they want to do like the...
That's great. So for the white label, it typically takes about 4 weeks to get it submitted into the store. Once it's submitted, Google is fast. It's in the next day. Apple can take a little longer. We can't rush Apple. So it depends on Apple's timeline, anywhere from 5 days to 4 weeks. So it's about 4 to 6 weeks, I would say, for the white label. For the custom app, it's a little bit longer turnaround, but not hugely, probably closer to 6 to 8 weeks. To get it in.
Okay, cool. Any other, I know you talked a little bit about some of the custom stuff and you showed the custom color of the pig on the front. Other customization options that are available within the app?
I think the colors, the other thing is the messaging. So for example, we do ask kids their birth month and day, never the year, because again, we're aware of child protection, but we ask for their month and day. And so for example, on their birthday week, Pegham's is in a party hat and balloons fly everywhere, and he says, happy birthday to the child. Don't forget to bring your checks into the bank. Well, if you have mobile deposit, we're happy to customize that for you, for example, to don't forget to take a picture of your birthday checks. Or, again, we have banks, I love this idea, I just heard about it a couple months ago. We have banks who have a treasure chest in their offices of coins, and on the child's birthday, they can come in and grab as big of a handful as they can get of coins and deposit it into their account, so we could customize the message for that. We have a CEO in Illinois who wants to give out coupons for an ice cream cone on their birthday. So those are the different fun things we can do with the various areas of Banker Junior.
Cool. Okay. Related to pricing, what's the term of the agreement? How long is the contract term to do
Great.
this?
It's a 3-year term. So
Okay.
one-time setup and then the monthly fee for 3 years.
Perfect. Okay. And here's another good question. We got lots of good questions. This is great. Do you offer any sort of exclusivity per region? So if a bank purchased it, they could essentially buy the rights or lock out a competitor, so you don't have the bank down the street doing the same thing?
Absolutely, absolutely. We offer 12 months of exclusivity if you name the banks, the financial institutions you compete with in your area. 12 months at no additional charge, because we do recognize that Banker Junior is a differentiator and something that you can use to differentiate from the bank down the street. So that's something we do for no additional charge for 12 months.
Cool. Okay. Wow, I had some questions that I wanted to ask, but I think the audience has just done a tremendous job of asking them for me. So I can't. Okay, we got a. Now I want her info, please, in all capital letters. So I have a feeling we'll be making.
All right. Well, here's the next one.
Well, yeah, perfect timing. Thank you for the segue there. Yeah, definitely. We'll be getting in touch. So. Here's how you can get a hold of Kathleen. We've got a special offer code. It might not necessarily be the most creative one, but it's my last name. Certainly, I'm very excited about partnering up with Kathleen and getting this out for my clients. And we've arranged, if you hear of it through me or through this webinar, that she's offering some special pricing discounts and, an extra little bonus that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And that helps kind of tie it back to this webinar and our efforts. So I'm very appreciative of that, and that's how you can get a hold of her. So by all means, don't let us slow you down. You probably have an email waiting for you right now, Kathleen.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for your time, Eric. Thanks for arranging this, and I'm glad we get people back to the office a little bit earlier, back to their job more quickly.
Yeah,
we all more time in the day, right?
Cool. Well, we'll see. Just if there's any other last-minute questions from the audience, we'll just kind of give it a little tick, tick, tick. Anything. Otherwise, yeah, it looks like we're good. You have her info there. You all know how to hopefully get in touch with me. So either way, let's keep the conversation going. Kathleen, thanks again for joining us. And like you said, we did finish a little early, and we reserved a whole hour, but I think the program speaks for itself, in my opinion. So if I were a banker, I can pretty much guarantee this would be something we'd be doing for the kids. I remember going into the bank, we used to have a little kids teller area that had extra steps that you could take, and you would walk over, so it would lift you up to the teller line, and they had the little cards that you could put your quarters and your nickels and dimes in to help you know your money, and this is just kind of the digitization of that whole process, because we know kids love mobile devices, and it's genetically ingrained into them, I think, these days as to how to use those things. So kudos to you for making the leap from banking into this and making a difference. So I think it's awesome.
Thank you, Eric, and thanks again, everyone, and I hope to talk to you all
soon.
Good.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.